You're at a friend's place, catching up after months, and somewhere between the small talk they ask, "Hey, whatever happened with that thing you were going to start?" And for a second, you just pause. You give some version of, "Yeah, still figuring it out," and you both move on. But that question sits with you longer than you'd like to admit. If that's happened to you, if you've got a version of yourself in your head that started something, and a version in real life that's still planning to, there's a real psychological reason behind that gap. And no, it's not laziness, even though it can feel that way at 11 p.m. when you're being hard on yourself. Today, we're looking at the psychology of people who dream big but don't act. What's actually happening in your head when the idea is fully formed, but the action never quite starts? Here's the honest version. Most people don't say out loud. It's not that you don't want it. You know exactly what you do. Start the business, write the book, finally commit to getting in shape. You've thought it through more times than you can count, but work wears you down. During the week, weekends feel like the only time to actually breathe. And somehow, there's always a reason it makes more sense to start next month instead of this one. That's not a character flaw. It's something psychologists understand pretty well. It's connected to how the brain treats effort versus comfort. Your brain is wired to protect your energy, especially after a long week. So when you're tired, even a goal you genuinely want gets filed under later. Not because you don't care, but because in that moment, rest wins the argument every single time. There's also something happening with how your brain estimates future time. Psychologists call this temporal discounting, the idea that rewards and efforts feel less real the further away they are. Starting a business today feels hard, immediate, uncomfortable. Starting it next month feels easy because next month isn't real yet. It's just a clean, abstract version of you with more energy and fewer excuses. The problem is, when next month arrives, it becomes today, and today always comes with its own tiredness, its own list of reasons. So the goalpost quietly moves again. There's a useful distinction here. Some people are planners, and some people are starters. Planners feel productive just by thinking it through, refining the idea, researching, imagining how it'll go. Starters jump in messy and figure it out as they go. If you're a planner, the planning itself can feel like progress, even when nothing's actually moved in the real world. Your brain gets a small sense of accomplishment just from having a good plan, which quietly removes some of the pressure to act on it. Planning produces a small, real dopamine hit, almost identical to the feeling of doing, which is exactly why it can feel like enough, even when it isn't. You might notice yourself opening your notes app late at night, writing something like, "starting Monday," and meaning it completely in that moment. And then Monday becomes next Monday. And you're not lying to yourself when you write that note. You genuinely intend to. It's just that intention and action live in two different parts of the brain, and one doesn't automatically trigger the other, no matter how much you want it to. Have you ever found yourself scrolling past someone else's success, someone who did the thing you've been planning, and felt a small, uncomfortable twist in your stomach? Not jealousy exactly, more like a quiet reminder of the gap between where you are and where you meant to be by now. If that's familiar, you're far from alone. Most people carry at least one version of this, a dream that's fully formed but still waiting. Part of this also comes down to how responsibility stacks up as life goes on. When you're younger, taking a risk feels lower stakes, less to lose. But the more life you build, a job that pays the bills, people who depend on you, a routine that mostly works, the more a big change starts to feel like something that could disrupt all of it. So waiting starts to feel safer than starting. Not because you're scared exactly, just because the cost of what if it doesn't work feels heavier than it used to. There's also a quieter reason underneath all of this. As long as the dream stays unstarted, it stays perfect. The business hasn't failed. The book hasn't been rejected. The version of you who finally gets in shape is still untested, still possible, still whatever you imagine it to be. Starting means risking that. It means trading a perfect idea for a messy, real attempt. And some part of your brain would rather protect the perfect version a little longer, even if it means staying still. None of this means you're somehow less driven than people who jump straight into action. And it doesn't mean those people have it all figured out either. Plenty of them start fast and burn out just as quickly, while the planners who finally do begin often build something that actually lasts, because they understood it so well before they started. So maybe tonight looks like it usually does. Dinner, a bit of TV, that note still sitting untouched in your phone. And that's okay. Not everything has to start today. Some things are just waiting for the right week, the right energy, the right moment. And when that moment comes, you'll know, because some part of you never actually stopped thinking about it.